Hi neighbor, what do you know and what do you say? Hi neighbor, throw all your worries away. You are now in my power, Cookie. You've been hypnotized. I am in your power. You will do anything I tell you. Anything. In a little while, I will wake you up. And when you wake up, you won't know that I've told you to do anything.
We're gonna clown around.
Oh, look at this horn.
Clown-based life forms.
Welcome back, gentle listeners, to another episode of Clown-Based Lifeforms. I am your host, Newsfist, specially genetically seasoned through millions of years of evolution, bred for this exact role, co-host Aaron. How you doing, mate?
Oh, I'm just peachy. How are you, boss?
Well, actually, I just got back from a meeting with our dark overlord, Meniscus the Magnificent. Oh, yes. He has plans for, I think it's your home planet, actually, Aaron. I believe what it's called, Earth, something like that. We have such plans, not content with the ethnic replacement of the people of Zebulon 5. We have set our eyes upon Earth. You have some like really little, like cool little knickknacks and stuff there that we just, we think would be like really, really good. So we're going to invade your planet and raise the entire thing to the ground and set up a global knickknacks factory. It'll be delightful, actually.
Is your foreman going to be Karen from Carmel, Indiana? She knows a lot about knickknacks. She has a whole Kincaid collection and everything.
I believe Blabra actually is top of the list to take over PR. When I asked her about it, she replied, she was happy, over the moon. Her little tentacles are like flapping and her little gas sacks were like inflating and deflating, and she like, wibbled in delight, undulated squamously.
Those aren't real words. Come on. You're pulling some limey trick on me right now. I know the dictionary.
You've never heard the word squamous?
No, or wibble.
Mate, you clearly have not read enough H.P. Lovecraft, right? Squamous.
That is so crazy. I was just reading H.P. Lovecraft the other night for no reason.
Ah, well, see, you got to get to the squamous bit, the cyclopean architecture, the squamous kerfuffling.
I feel like you're pulling my leg. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I know you wouldn't, but like, I mean, would you?
So right, Meniscus the Magnificent, right, was telling us all about how we have, in fact, been sending Earth Destroyer bots to Earth for 50, possibly more, of your Earth years. Now, fortunately, of course, the Earthlings haven't noticed because we have this incredible technology that can make like 100-ton battle cruiser appear like a small weird dot of light that no one can like focus in on. It's amazing technology. And so basically what's happened is, as we have surrounded the Earth with multi-million tonnage worth of battle cruisers, all the Earthlings have been able to see is like weird, hard to resolve dots. It's amazing technology from Squamulon 6, I believe.
Well, as my co-host said, we have more cameras than people, and this is the best they can do.
It's so fake and gay.
It's so bad. Dude.
Can we get some actual like proper images of like one of these things? The only thing that I have seen that looks in any way like weird is that 8-pointed star. I don't know if you've like seen that. That was like,
yeah, we saw
wiggling
that
around. It's probably like a refraction out of, I mean, I don't know, right? Like I just it put me in mind of that weird newspaper headline broadsheet from Nuremberg in like the 1500s, the Nuremberg broadsheet, I believe. It's, and there's like a big battle in the sky over Nuremberg and all these like weird shapes, and all the people in the modern world are like, oh, see, aliens.
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
well, see, when I was down in the slot mines this week,
mm-hmm.
I visited a place that, it's the best place to go if you want to get some good stuff, but it's toxic. You can't stay there for very long. It's called Reddit.
Oh yes,
I saw.
Actually, we invented that specifically to subvert the minds of your people.
Wait a second. The Zebulonians are Chinese?
Yes, we are. We are actually we have taken DNA from many species, right, and made a sort of like hideous Kalergi amalgam for our ruling class. You know what I mean? We have the subtlety of the Chinese, the chutzpah of the Levantines, the obsequiousness of the Japanese, right? And the economic management of the French and the Germans.
Well, that actually sounds great. I mean, that sounds like hybrid vigor to me.
Yes, of course, you wouldn't know anything about that, would you, Aaron? Bred as you are for thousands of years to occupy the wage cage, right? You come from a long line of slop miners, right? Your ancestors abducted from Earth in possibly the Neolithic age, transported to Zebulon 5, fitted with highly annoying anal probes, and then bred for their obsequious obedience.
Well, and proud of it too.
And damn proud of it. My daddy was obsequious and lived in a cage, and God damn it, I'm going to live in a cage as well. It's what my daddy would have wanted, in a cage.
This is getting too personal. Anyways, on Reddit, I saw one that was allegedly out of Ukraine. And it was pretty good. It looked similar. It kind of looked like a spiky creature from, like, I don't know, Dungeons and Dragons.
I wouldn't trust anything that comes out of Ukraine, honestly, man. Right? No, I'm just saying, right? That entire fucking country is basically like run by the Moorish mafia, and I'm not even exaggerating. Like, did you see Zelensky's ex-press secretary went on Tucker Carlson, right, and was like talking about it? And for those of us, I'm not saying I was like right years ago or anything, but I was. All these people are like, what are you talking about? Ukraine is like the greatest country on the earth. I'm like, dude, like literally 5 minutes before the war started, everyone was talking about how like Ukraine was the most fucking corrupt country, one of the most corrupt countries in the world, and like a massive human trafficking hub, and the whole place was like run by the mafia, and it was like full of like snazzies. And then the Russians get involved, and suddenly like, oh, brave Ukrainian allies. Yeah, so Zelensky's press secretary comes on, right, and just confirms, oh yeah, like Zelensky's like a massive cokehead. All the people around him are like mafia who got like their start in like prostitution and like human trafficking. It's, and again, people like me are like, yep, I told you so. Well, it's too late now, obviously, right? They're all dead. I mean, now I'm sad. But yeah.
I can't believe I missed that. I need to write that down. Tucker, Ukraine, cocaine. Got it.
Yes, that's right. Zelensky has come to make an announcement. I now need more cocaine and piss. Hopefully, once we defeat Russian menace, I will have more piss than I know what to do with, and spit. Piss and spit.
It was weird how he was sort of a filter for me, because all the most based and best people I know were always suspicious of that little rat. And everyone else was like, oh my God, he's leading a country. I'm like, what are you watching?
Oh yeah, it's a crazy interview. Like it's totally a crazy interview. Like, so there's this one story where she's basically saying, like, Zelensky comes in and he's like, why does no one believe me anymore? I say things and people that do not believe me. And not the press secretary who's being interviewed, but like one of her colleagues, right, is like very, very diplomatically talking with Zelensky and saying, well, listen, you keep saying you're going to do stuff and then you don't, or you do the exact opposite, right? Like, so for instance, he'd promised houses to a bunch of these people who got their houses like destroyed in like a drone strike or something like that. And they just didn't do it, right? And Zelensky is like, if we get enough people to say that we did the thing, then we did the thing. I need Goebbels propaganda. I need 1,000 Goebbels propaganda. And I knew this, right? Like, look, I'm not saying like the Russians are like sweetness and light, like, like Vladimir Putin's like all cherubic, like sitting up on a cloud, like, oh, well, why won't anyone be friends with little Vladimir, right? Like that guy's a fucking right. Like, but the way the Ukrainians lie about shit is just insane, man. Like it's like just it's you can't trust the fucking. So when just to circle back, the reason why I would be very distrustful about anything that comes out of like Ukraine is that practically every single thing that comes out of Ukraine is just a way of funneling more dirty money to the mafia that is like the Ukrainian government. That's all I'm saying.
My favorite was the wooden guns. Did you ever see that? Where they were doing propaganda photos with like, oh, civilians are rising up to fight evil Putler. And they like showed this picture of these guys like in an urban setting in camo, and they had wooden guns painted black.
Yeah, well, see, that was probably a calculated propaganda film designed to be able to say to the West, look, we are so poor. We are training with the wooden weapons. We need another $100 billion. Please, to EU, give me more money. Like Zelensky is like so stereotypically mooish. It's not even funny, right?
Oh, it's retarded.
He'll come begging for money, and literally as soon as you've given him like $60 billion, right? 3 days later, he's back for another 60 billion, right? It's that guy is relentless. Like, whereas most people would have some shame in like literally like e-begging your way into like $100 million. It's just, no, we need more money, to defend Europe from Russia, from Putler.
Man, it's so bad, man. Smart people I knew were just immediately one day they didn't know that Ukraine was a place, and then and then people like me called it the Ukraine, like you're supposed to. But the next day, one day to the next, they didn't know what it was. And then it was basically Israel too. And that's actually another fine point, or maybe liberal Israel. I don't know if that's correct. But another point that I would like to make about it was that Ukraine ruined Israel's PR campaign, by the way, by using all of the strategies so hard that when Israel came along, it was like, listen, we got the same plan from Edelman or whatever. We're going to run this again. Everyone was like, why does this taste the same? This is the same. This is the same propaganda, and I'm already cringing. Can we get a different product in here?
Actually, they're all the same product, right? And the reason why they're all the same product is because of the propaganda environment that was installed after World War II. Right. That's why everything is a Marvel movie. That's why everything is Star Wars. That's why every single time they're fighting like an infinite number of mustache men. Right. Like that's why everyone is Hitler. Hussein was Hitler. Gaddafi was Hitler. Milosevic was Hitler. Because right, like that's how you move Western populations post World War II, because they installed this frame, this religion, Holocaustianity, effectively. You know what I mean, right? Where
Oh yeah.
instead of evil being this thing inside yourself that you must constantly try and conquer, which is Christianity, right? Evil is externalized into this thing that you can go and kill with weapons and force, right? Which is not how evil works, but anyway, right? And the upshot of that is that after World War II, the West believed that they had essentially defeated evil, right? Like because that's how the propaganda, like, Mustache Man was the most evil thing that had ever like eviled. He Hitler across the room, very holocaustically, right? No. Okay. But then, of course, there was a danger that evil would return. And then we'd also need like more guns and weapons and bullets and bombs and ships and shit to go and defeat evil elsewhere. And that's how you wound up in this situation where you just have foreign war after foreign war after foreign war after foreign war, while the countries in question decay and decay and decay, right? Because you've and this is the other thing, right? Evil is always out there, right? Like never here, right? Never in the hearts of men, right? Like never in your own heart, in your own actions, never in your own country. It is always out there, like brown people. Well, before mass migration. like the way when whites still had a basically functioning society, right? They used to like low key be like, oh, that kind of stuff happens in brown countries. You know what I mean, right? Like it wouldn't happen here, right? Same kind of like thing, and so oh yes, those things happen in brown countries. We better send them like infinite money. And the people that engineered this made infinite money and infinite weapons and infinite wars, and it was a massive gravy train. But it only really worked while everything was going pretty much swimmingly in the West, when you could just say like, well, everything there's a I'm quite into war propaganda, right? Because like watching the way that it evolves and changes over time really, really interests me. And because it's a specific form of mass communication that is, well, since 1900s, designed to get people to go and like basically get themselves killed for like causes that are not really relevant to them, right? Because, for example, right, World War I and World War II propaganda in Australia, okay? No one's invading Australia. I mean, the Japanese bombed like Darwin, right? Like a couple of times, and they weren't going to invade, okay, right? The wars are always on the other side of the world, okay? So how do you convince people to go halfway around the world to get shot at when everything's basically fine in their country, right? And there's this poster, like I can still see it so clearly, right? It's an Australian recruitment soldier poster for World War One. Okay. And does it feature dudes in uniforms, guns, trenches, anyone being shot at? Oh, no. What it features, right, is just a dude swimming in the ocean, right? Close up shot. Okay. And it's, sure, it's nice in the ocean, but what about the boys in the trenches? Join up, enlist now. And the reason that always like struck me is like, it's just guilt tripping, right? Like, everything's so like great in Australia, right? Why don't you nip across the world and get shot at in fucking Gallipoli, right? For freedom or justice, or shut the fuck up, just get on the boat. Like,
yeah. I mean, one key thing about it is the dynamic between the sexes, of course. Yes. Creating pressure or enlisting women to create pressure on men is absolutely essential, because most men in civilized society won't move and get into a fight unless a woman is threatened or asking for help. It's sort of the self-defense mechanism that people have for like, concealed carry over here. You have to be under attack before you can open fire, but everyone's like, just give me a reason. Just give me a reason. I want to shoot somebody. That's how it is. It's the same thing with propaganda. You have to get women to give men permission to do violence. That's sort of the way to get things really, really going.
I mean, I guess, but then you wind up in a position where you have the modern West, where their women are like literally getting attacked by like foreign hordes, and they just do nothing. because the government has disarmed them, defanged them, demanned them, demoralized them. Like, basically you've got soy nation now, really. Like,
Right. So they, after the war, they had to remove that dynamic so that nobody would do anything ever. And they had to empower women so they wouldn't ask for help or feel like asking for help is somehow demeaning to them.
I think I think it's just all an evil plot, personally, to subjugate the West. I
agree.
One of the things that really weirds me out, okay, like, I can't tell whether I'm a freak or smarter than the average tard for thinking this, okay, right? And this is directly relevant to Ukraine, okay? Have you ever sat down and thought about how you would kill the population of an entire country? Right?
No.
Now, okay, right. Well, okay, maybe it's just me, okay? But this is a very, very relevant question, because if we assume that there are groups of people with transformative goals, right? Large scale transformative goals, like a much more large scale than you or I, right? Like, not just, oh, I'm going to put some parquet on the floor in the kitchen and be like, no. We're going to carve up this fucking country into three. We're going to fucking, move these people like off this land, like, there might be a few million of them, but there's resources there that we want, right? Like that kind of thinking, right? Like elite level constructionist thinking. Okay. How would you go about it? And I think one of the reasons why people in the West, they don't think about this is because they're still trapped in the World War II story, right? Like they believe that like the best way to get rid of a whole bunch of people is to meticulously document them, right? Stick them in like cattle trucks and then like, move them places and Whereas the most efficient ways are the four horsemen, right? War, famine, and disease. Like really, right? Like you could, much like what happened to a lot of Germans after World War II, actually, just stick them in a camp in the middle of nowhere and let them all starve to death, right? There's no reason why you can't do that. And war is another great way that you can like depopulate an entire country. And now this fate has befallen Ukraine. All of their men basically are dead now. The casualty numbers are insane. And what are they going to do now? They're going to bring in Infinity Indians to replace them.
Yes.
And I totally called it a couple of years ago, and everyone's like, oh my God, you're insane. That would never happen. I'm like, well, it's happening. So I don't know what to tell you. Right. And if I get in conversations with the people, they'll be like, oh, but that was by accident. They couldn't possibly have foreseen such a thing. Dude, I foresaw it. Mm-hmm. So unless I'm literally like the most foresighted person in the world, which I highly, highly doubt, you can't tell me that other people did not foresee this happening. Right?
Oh, no, I thought the same thing. They were cleaning out that land to be used the way that they clean out other places to be used.
Oh, mate,
it's revolting, and it's hard to watch because when you tell people about it, they don't listen. But there's this amazing thing that happens is later on down the line, when people have already seen the results of this, they go back to people who did call it and they go, you know what? You were right.
No, they don't. They say that's what they always believed, right? Like, look at what happened.
You're right. Yeah.
Look what happened with COVID.
Yeah,
right?
You're right.
No one came back and said, "Oh yeah, you guys were right. Like, we're sorry for like doing all that like crap." None of the elite.
No.
You know, Fauci's the statute of limitation or all Fauci's shit just expired, right? Nothing's going to happen to him. They didn't charge him. He's going to be I'm so fucking angry about that, man. I am inside. I am livid about that, right? I thought at the very least, right, we would get to see like something happen to Fauci. But no. He's still out there. He's still farming the droplets.
Well, actually, just to your point, yes, isn't that weird how that happens? Like later on, when people realize they were wrong, they just pretend they were right the whole time.
Yes.
They don't remember a time when they would have killed you for having a problem with Dr. Fauci.
Well, I think it reduces that cognitive dissonance, right? And I suppose as well, right, to be fair, no one wants to go through the ritual of having some fucking smartass like me behave like Cartman and be like,
Yeah,
you were
it's
wrong.
true.
You were wrong, right? Because then, right, the next time they're 100% sure of something, right, and some smartass like me comes up and says you're wrong, and they're like, no, I'm not, and they'll be like, yeah, well, remember that other thing you were 100% wrong about. Nobody wants that, right?
Right. Well, see, this is what propagandists and marketing people understand inherently, is that you have to make them feel like it was their idea and they always wanted this. Convincing people in like a debate is not effective for, mass public manipulation. You simply have to tell them that they already agree with you and then reinforce it for 10 years. And then that's how it works. What was that term that was going around? It wasn't social contagion. It was mass formation hypnosis.
Mass formation psychosis. Yeah, that was who was the guy who thought that?
I read his book.
Yeah.
Matthias Desmet.
Yeah, Matthias Desmet. Yeah, that's right. And I mean, he just sort of came across like a catchy name for something that had been for like around for ages and sold a bunch of books. Good on him, by the way, right? Yeah. I'm not saying, but
absolutely.
I remember when that term came out, right? And I had been spending like tons and tons of time like researching all this stuff, like the Biederman coercion scale and all these other sort of like political ponerology and all of these sort of stuff, that a lot of this research that came out in sort of the 60s and the 70s, like as the Soviet Union was like falling, right? And a lot of people, they were criticizing communism. Hell, even James Lindsay, right, was talking about that book, Communist Brainwashing in something China. I forget the name of the author, but basically this guy, he debriefed a bunch of Americans who'd been captured by the Chinese, right, and who'd come back. Okay, and this was really, really, really interesting. So it was assumed, allegedly, that the reason why the Chinese brainwashing was so effective, is dangerous, right, was that they had like advanced drugs or some shit. I question whether they really thought that, actually, right? It's a part of me just thinks like that's just the story they used to scare people to get the money so they could spin up MK Ultra, so they could go around like doing acid and fucking hookers and like creating bioweapons and other kinds of like crazy shit. Okay, right? But this was the story that was sold, right? The Chinese brainwashing, they've got these like weird drugs, so we have a drug gap, so we must, mind control gap. It wasn't anything high tech at all. Okay, it was very, very simple. They got like a bunch of people, they stuck them in a dormitory together, and they made a collective punishment system. So if anyone in the dormitory messed up, the entire dormitory suffered. Okay, so the dormitory policed itself. Right? Like anyone who like messed up, all the other people in the dormitory would like start kicking 10 kinds of like shit out of them. Okay. And then they did like all of these like endless like self-criticism sessions and like doctrinal sessions where they'd have to talk about like Maoism and make sure their thinking was correct. And if they got anything incorrect, they'd have to write like, 5 pages explaining like why they were incorrect and how they'd realize their error, and then they'd have to like do it again, this whole like self-criticism thing. It was just that. It was incredibly fucking low-tech shit. And the Americans like, it must be some kind of like, yeah. So yeah, that was the kind of like shit I was looking into. When
that makes perfect sense. I mean, and you and I probably saw it around the same time when they started rolling out those self-enforcing policies and all that stuff, especially in the big cities where they're like, well, if you see someone with your mask down, call them out.
It makes me think a lot about the Stasi, right? The Stasi from East Germany, right? So East versus West Germany is a really, really interesting contrast, because in East Germany, they just used force mainly. Right. So like keep people in line. Okay. Like terror and like force and this kind of like other stuff. Right. Whereas in West Germany, they use like complete full spectrum propaganda. Okay. And the 50, I don't know how many years later, it's more than 50 years later, right? Like 75 years later. The results are like quite interesting to see because it is the West Germans that are completely cucked, completely zogged, right? Like, you know, immigrants are welcome here, right? Like, you know, have you sort of being homosexual with a migrant and sharing your girlfriend with like Abdul, kind of like that sort of like stuff. Whereas the East Germans are comparatively still much more based because from the East German perspective, they didn't really care what you thought as long as you acted correctly, right? Obviously, you know, you couldn't speak and stuff like that. But from the East German point of view, what was inside your skull was basically your own sort of like thing, as long as you didn't talk. Whereas the West German, the sort of Western, the denazification approach was to reach into your skull and literally reprogram your thoughts. And the East German Stasi, at its peak, I believe, they say it was employing like a third of East Germany. I don't know how this would work in practice, right? Like maybe that's just what the East Germans told the population, right? So like everyone would be scared shitless of everybody else, which of course was like the idea, right? Like everyone would be like totally scared. Is it like a bit like COVID, except you know much worse, right? Or you know the UK now, right? Where you go out and you never know, right? Like who's going to like snitch on you, right? Like if you accidentally drop like an N-bomb or something, right? Like there might be someone like, oh, you this person, they just did a hate crime, lock them away, right? But I wonder. So the Stasi was a sort of, I guess it was sort of like the civilian sort of pointy end of the East German intelligence state. I think I've got that right. Now I'm starting to like wonder whether the stuff that my brain is throwing up is in fact correct or whether I'm just hallucinating it. But most of the time the stuff my brain throws up is correct. But you ever get that thing where your brain says like, oh, it's this thing. And you're like, brain, are you sure? And your brain's like, well, I don't know. That's all I've got on there. Like, yeah, that's what it says in my brain file, right?
Hang on, let me put on my servile voice.
Your brain is working just fine, Master. You never make mistakes. Definitely not on a recorded show.
Thank you so much, Aaron. Your toadying keeps me sane. Whenever I have a moment of self-doubt, I just phone up Aaron. He gives me a good toadying.
Yes, hello, worshipful Master. Of course you look good today.
Oh, thank you very much. You have become a indispensable part of this complete toadying. You know, I wonder, like seriously, like about the elites and this is a well-known effect of when people get surrounded by yes men and suck-ups, right? Who will just tell them like whatever the fuck they want to hear, right? Like many a great leader has been brought down by this dynamic. Okay, they eventually get rid of the people around them who would push back against them and be like, like particularly if they've risen to power and they still know people from like before they ascended to power, particularly if it's sort of a dictatorial power or like they become someone like, I guess like Mao or Napoleon, or I don't know if these are good examples. Okay. But, and they get surrounded by like yes men and suck ups. Right. And so whatever like crazy shit they want to do, right? The yes men and the suck ups are like, oh, that's a wonderful idea, Master. I'm sure it's a brilliant plan. It's like sure to work. And then they stop giving them like bad news. Right. Yeah. So, oh yes, the war's going fabulously. I wonder if this is what's happened to Trump or what,
I have to agree with you there because it's funny. You can compare this actually to the phenomenon of AI being a suck up.
Oh yeah.
The result is that everyone gets dumber and the AI basically develops dementia. It's utterly useless unless it can actually disagree with you, which is why, again, I am not paid for this, but I talk about using Gab AI all the time on my show if I'm going to use a bot. It's got a subscription fee, but it will push back on you.
Yeah. Yeah. It would.
It's great.
Yeah. Ari is really good. I like Aria. which is the name of Gab's chatbot Aria.
As my co-host Adam would say, subtle.
Yeah, it's a subtle. Yeah, I know. Very subtle. Did you hear actually? Like, the Australian government's going after Gab now. They're like, you know, Gab is like doing like X number of anti-septicisms per minute. You know, we have to like shut it down. I'm like, no. It's so weird. They're just, at some point, all these Western countries that aren't America are going to get together, and they're just going to mass block access to all of these different sites and programs, right? Gab, Telegram, 4chan, all of these things. And the only reason they haven't done it yet is because everyone that they want to censor already knows how to use a fucking VPN, right?
Exactly.
So now they're in this position where they have to figure out how to ban VPNs, okay? But China's already done that, and it didn't work because how do you ban a VPN? Shit, I was talking with Artie about this. God, like last night, I think, you know.
Yeah, you were, because I was listening. It was awesome.
I think what are they going to do? I think, right, like what they really want in their heart of hearts, their little dark hearts, okay, is to have a mobile phone that is locked with a digital ID, okay, that reports back to a central sort of computer what apps you've got installed on it, and it just won't install like a bunch of stuff. So it won't install any like VPNs or anything, okay? And then if you install anything on it that is verboten, it'll like snitch on you to digital ID central. I really think that's like what they want. And then, oh my God, I saw the fucking craziest thing. Wait, I've got to like look this up. So they're trying to launch a new social media app in Europe called, is it like My EU?
Oh no.
It's got some really like stupid name.
Of course it does. Of course it does.
Miu.
Waymo?
Oh, what's it called? Oh, it's got some really, really cringe.
Is it like state run?
No, it's not state run, but I mean, it may as well be. I mean, everything in the EU is basically state run, right? In the sense that what you have is this weird kind of command economy at like one step removed. Okay. So the government doesn't own your business. Okay. But the government effectively owns like a massive fence around your business with armed guards. Right. And so the government dictates how you set up your business, how you can run like every single aspect of how you can run your business. Government can like shut you down at any time. So it's like, because they don't want to run your business. Ew, capitalism, right? No. What they want to do is like run the fence and the armed guards and all this kind of other stuff. So every single and this is why there's no innovation in Europe, right? Like the whole thing is like dying because they just how are you supposed to innovate anything with government regulations that are that onerous? It's gotten so bad that oh my God, the latest plan by the UK to encourage growth, get this, is to make these like specific little zones with less regulation. So businesses can thrive. I shit you not. I think they're calling them like prosperity zones or something, right? And there'll be these little zones where like, you won't be like regulated like literally into the ground, right? Like presumably until you hit like a certain size, and then they'll be like, oh my God. And
it's technically free range.
Oh my God. It's so fucking retarded. When apparently when the economic situation of the UK became apparent, Starmer he went to all the regulators and said, I want you to write like new regulations for growth.
Wow.
It's like going to your local group of rapists and being like, I want you to design new forms of rape for virginity or something.
Oh my God. Well, didn't we cover something like that? It was like a cock stabber or something like that.
Well, I can't remember what it was called. It was like something like REU. It's like, you know, and it's some social media thing, and it has like 5 different like chat fact checking bots pre-built into it.
Oh, that is disgusting. These people have no shame. None at all.
Okay, I've got to try and find this.
Where did you see it?
I saw it on somewhere on the internet. You know how it is.
Yeah. It's somewhere. Miu. Social media. Let me see if I got it over here on the free internet. Oh, that's a model.
Practice on disinformation.
Let's see. New social media app. And it's just in, did you say it's just in Europe?
Yeah. Because no one outside Europe's gonna like fucking use that shit. You like kidding?
Is it W Social?
Well, no, apparently that's another one. Okay, because they want
Real?
Want an alternative. They want an alternative to Twitter, right? So it's instead of X, it's going to be called W. Oh wow, it's like Temu Twitter.
Why W? That's a hard letter to say. You just call it Dubs. Catch me on the Dubs.
Oh, okay. So apparently, the European Union is not launching its own social media platform. Claims that the EU is creating a platform called W are false, as confirmed by the European Union. You've been fact-checked, chud.
Wait. What about this article that I found from 4 days ago? Is it called Bully?
Bully?
Yeah, there's one called Bully, French for bubble, launched in January, promising a healthy social network.
Oh, God.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I just keep seeing stuff for Dubs.
Oh, hang on. It's like playing on. I hate it when they autoplay like stuff. Is the EU launching their own social media? Oh, of course they are, because they desperately want to go back to COVID. They can't. You know, the weird thing is like how politicians, like they want a safe space. Like they can't hack actually getting feedback from the public, right? Like they want to tinker with your life ad infinitum, but they absolutely do not want to hear your opinions on them tinkering with your life. Like right. they're totally allergic to any kind of feedback, right? It's like, the public, they're so mean to me. Why? You know, my life is fine.
Yeah. I mean, this is a consequence of decadence, right? Is now all of our leaders are fat, lazy, and gay, and they just want to be left alone while also, you know, playing around with their little goyim on the board, I guess. They don't want to be bothered. You know, it's like you and your plate of food that talks back to you.
That's right. Obsequious Hot Pocket.
The Talk Pocket. It's new. Oh.
Get in my belly. Oh, wait. Am I back?
I'm back. Yep.
Right. I don't know, like, why my signal drops out like that. Right in the middle of my joke as well. Oh,
unbelievable.
Must be the EU. And they're just like, you will not disparage the great European Union. Oh, it's so awesome. Oh, the diversity. Oh, so like it's like a weird. It reminds me of a retard with a train set, or possibly a kindergarten teacher. Actually, I think a kindergarten teacher might actually be a better sort of what's the word I'm looking for? You know, not parable.
Allegory.
Allegory. Thank you. Right? It's like, because women are all about this, you know, like everybody has to get along. Now let's not fight. Like, no. Where men are much more like, oh yeah, there's 2 kids, right? Like what they really need is to like beat the crap out of each other and like, you know, and then they'll get it out of their system, right? But the women are always like, oh no. don't fight like my precious minorities. And then, but women also I suppose men do this as well, but women do this thing where they'll make like one child the favorite who can do no wrong, right? So if we think of a multicultural society as like a classroom of many varied children, basically of many different and diverse communities, right? And the women in charge are like just, oh, my precious minorities, right? Like, like, I don't know, Jamal like stabs the crap out of like some kid, right? And he goes up to the teacher and is like, oh, Jamal just like stabbed me, right? And the teacher's like, don't you make up such lies? Don't you know what noble Jamal has been through just to be in this class? Like, poor white kids like bleeding out and being like, what did you do to start it, Timmy?
Exactly. Yes.
Oh my God. Oh, it's so fucking weird. Yeah. So I don't know. Are they doing W? Apparently,
I see a lot of things that remind me of Blue Sky.
Well, yes. I mean, the crucial thing about all of these social media startups is that they have blue sky levels of moderation. And I think clearly what the EU elite want is their own little safe space, basically, where they can go and just talk to each other about how much they love like controlling your life without having anyone actually like push back and be like, yeah, we hate you. It's like, why do you? But I'm a nice person, right? Like,
it's crazy. What's crazy? And I know we were going to talk about Scientology at some point here.
Yeah, well, that went by the fucking wayside, didn't we? Like 45 minutes into this like massive segue. That's fine.
I'm sorry. I was not looking at the timer because I just love being here so much, boss.
I know you do, Aaron. I know. I don't see that. That is your genetic breeding. See, much like a Labrador retriever, over thousands of years, we have selected the most pliant and reliable toadies and mated them together in a sort of weird forced breeding program. And you are the result of that, Aaron.
Yes.
Aren't you happy? I know you're happy.
Yes, sir. I am a dog. Anyway.
So the point I was going to try to make is I heard this one thing that was really funny about American churches, right? So American churches were losing their audience in the 90s and early 2000s. And then it's just a disaster now because their strategy, and I always told them this was stupid from the time I was like maybe 12, something like that. They were like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to get the youth's attention by basically being a concert like those heathens over there, but it's going to be a Jesus concert. Now, here's the problem with trying to compete with the concert industry, so to speak. You aren't that.
Yeah.
You're a church.
Yeah.
And people can go to better concerts than your church. So now why would they go to church? Right? So this is the reason it failed was because they could never compete. No amount of money they put into the stagecraft, no amount of, artists they hired and paid to play for their worship band and stuff like that. Nothing like that could compete. And I see that's exactly what's happening with these social media networks is they're like, well, don't you want to come to our concert over here? And everyone's like, well, the big one is on X right over there. And then there's that weird one off to the side that's like all alternative music and like racist funk or whatever. And that's sucking up all the audience, right?
Yeah.
And they're over here like, why don't you come to our church? It's like, because you're not it. You're just not it, man.
Remember Christian metal? You old enough to remember, like Christian metal when heavy metal was a thing, and so all the Christians like, I know what we're going to do. We're going to make a Christian heavy metal, and it's like, yeah, it's just not really. I don't know. I mean, I've heard that that a couple of bands were pretty good, like Stryper apparently was good, but I never listened to them because, back in that period of my life, I was like, oh, Christianity, like cringe. Because the thing is, right, what they should have done is gone with like the Orthodox drip, right?
Yes.
they should have just had like a bunch of those like monks, right? In the robes and like the huge beards and like the you know, the crazy, like insane eyes and just being like, like, you know, but oh no, they're like, we're going to be heavy metal, but Protestant, like evangelical Protestant.
Oh, I mean, it worked for the pagans, right? They just started working it into their concerts and all that stuff, and people were like, "This is badass."
Which, oh, you mean the modern pagans?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like
well,
some of those concerts are freaking awesome to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I have a different feeling about them now, obviously, you know, because like, you know, back in the day, they were like, yeah, woo, you should all like start doing witchcraft in like your basement. What's the worst that could possibly happen? Woo! It's like, yeah,
yeah. I mean, I see your point.
Next to being like, woo, let's start giving heroin to children. What's the worst that could happen, bro?
That's and the church is over here like, but wouldn't you like an extra candy or perhaps a donut?
Wouldn't you like a cup of tea and we could read the Psalms? And all the kids are like, nah, I want to smoke weed and be rebellious and wear black clothes and, you know, have sex with big titty goth girls.
Man, how do you sell against that? Better not compete, I guess.
I don't know. I think it's a very, very hard message to sell in times of prosperity. Right. Like when I think this is one of the things as well that a lot of the controllers, they don't understand is that the kind of messaging you can sell when in good times is very different to the messaging that works in bad times. Right. Like, cause when things are going great in your society, a lot of the deeper questions don't really get thought about. Like one of the really interesting sort of like social periods to study is when like the Black Death was around, okay? And everyone's like just dropping dead left and right. And the way it like changes like the whole society, like everyone's just like drawing skulls and skeletons all over everything. It's like the most goth shit you've ever seen, basically, right? Everyone's like, be attached not to this world. You never know when it may be taken away. The thing is, that is actually universally true, right? Like that is a true thing no matter what age you live in. But in good times, if you say that, people be like, oh yeah, fuck off. You got
right.
You're busy over here trying to like score with this chick with the black lipstick and the fishnets. You know what I mean? Do you think she likes me? But when things get dire, that's when those messages really resonate. And I think this is the problem. I think a lot of particularly the EU messaging, hasn't really changed since like the 90s, early 2000s. And the problem is stuff has gotten way, way worse. So there's a thing in Berlin every year. Actually, I don't know if they still do it, but they used to have it in Berlin every year. It's called the Love Parade. Okay. And it was like, you know, it was like LGBTQ friendly, but before like the horrible rainbow pride stuff. So it was basically for everyone. So like heterosexuals were also allowed, like before the government started mandating homosexuality. It's like literally for everyone, right? Like, ew, what are you doing trying to like have sex with women? You, right? Our precious gays. And the Love Parade was just like this, you know, everyone would like get together and just, you know, listen to techno and do like tons of drugs. And it was, you know, and the one from like 2000, just before 9/11 happened, was sort of like the peak example of this, right? The slogan was like one people, one love, one world. And everyone really believed it, you know what I mean? Because the horrors of mass immigration had not happened. So when you went to like your average person in Germany and said one people, one love, one world, they just imagined like mostly white people and a few like slightly browner people that they knew, right? Not like millions of like
well they imagined a lot of white people and then some multicolored people who acted like white people.
Correct. Yeah. Exactly right. They did not imagine, you know, the horrors of the Indian and Pakistani diaspora, like, you know, coming.
It's amusing because they still dream of this. It's crazy. Everything that, you know, people are like, oh, there's so much diversity in these movies. It's like those are just multicolored white people. Like that's what they're casting, and that's the characters that they play.
Yeah,
we've talked about this before.
Yeah, and I know. Except, right, like what started to happen was, right, like they became sort of like magical. Like there's this trope in movies called like the magical Negro,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like you see it really clearly in that movie 3 Mile.
Well, they
right?
also made a movie that was just called that.
Oh, the Society of Magical Negroes. Oh, I'd
Yeah.
forgotten about that. I never saw it, but I should watch that now that the whole BLM
We want to watch
down
it
a little
together.
bit.
We should totally like Rumble stream that movie.
Yeah, that would be hilarious. Oh my god, goddamn crackers got no magic. Yeah, so for the listener, the plot of the Society of Magical Negroes was basically, right, there's this secret underground society of magical Negroes, and they just go around like making white people's lives better so they don't have to realize how terrible they are. Why they do this, I'm not sure. I haven't seen. And then in the society, basically there emerges like, I guess, like a militant tendency. And one of the Negroes, he's suddenly like, why the hell are we spending all this time doing nice thing for crackers? They don't care about us. I don't know if he does the accent, but whenever I start doing black grievance politics, I always like lapse into this like accent. And yeah, it came out, I think, at like around the height of BLM, if I've got that correct.
That's right.
Yeah. It was like that whole sort of, why are we even being nice to white people anymore, right? Like
Yeah.
the time has passed, right? We have to abandon all.
We've been too lovable.
We have to abandon all social mores, to bring like the blessed revolution.
It always made me laugh that one of those movies was it was like The Legend of Bagger Vance.
Uh-huh.
And I was just like, that just is a really unfortunate title. I don't know. Like the character is literally, it's Will Smith. His name is Bagger.
Apparently it was 2024.
Really?
I can't believe it. Okay, so I guess they must have started making it then, in the height of BLM.
Yep.
Then, right? Because there's always like a bit of a a lag when you've got to, like,
there's some weirdo behind the scenes who's had this screenplay for like 30 years. Like, it's my time to shine.
Always hated those goddamn white people. Have you around making their lives easier.
It's like, that's what I've been doing all day. I've basically been a wizard going around helping these people. And you know what? I'm done. I'm done.
Oh my god. I wonder, we are in such a weird position with the elites at the moment. Like what I was thinking about this today. I think what's happened, right, is that they have gate kept so hard, okay, that anyone who is essentially not a just complete doctrinaire shell has been excluded from any kind of politics. You see this sort of all over Europe, right? If you don't, if you ever, said like spicy words on the internet, like you're not getting anywhere near power. Like it's suffocating, to the point. Now, I'm not saying like a certain amount of gatekeeping is not good in politics, right? You don't want, crazy Ed coming in, like, doing national politics to like, talk about the aliens who've been stealing his like spoons and, stealing his fingernails at night, right? Like that's not it. But when you get to this like point where everything hardens ideologically to the point where, you can't even make a joke. You can't ask any real questions. You can't explore any ideas like at all. You just lose human capital, and the human capital that you do wind up with are just a combination of, number one, people who are such good liars that they just lie, and they're terrible people or whatever, but they just lie and manage to like look like the perfect leftist or whatever. Or these people who are just, I guess, like just too stupid to know the difference. I mean, that's basically what you got in the UK government now. It's terrible.
Yeah, that's pretty much accurate. I mean, the whole like, we need to stupefy everyone at once. I mean, these are, everything is blowback, right? So it's like, let's make the population dumber. Okay, so now you have to pull from a dumber, simpler population to inhabit the leadership positions as well. And they get dumber, and then the expectation becomes like idiocracy a little bit. And
Well,
I don't see how that doesn't filter up. You know, like I think about the idea of like equality and stuff like that, which, man, when I was in high school, and it wasn't very long ago, that was like almost it. I'm not going to say it was new, but I remember when the Redditor types really latched onto that. And they made this whole thing about, well, you know, I believe in equality, not equity. And now we're at a place where it's like, well, we just believe in equity as a principle. And I don't see how, like, to me, it looks like the elite class also believe that in a more derogatory way.
I'm not sure. Being the cynical person that I am, I always believed that really what's happening is that as global governance became a thing, right? Essentially, you got another layer of elites on top of national governments. Okay. So
Yes.
usually, right, like national governments was mostly as high as you could rise. The UN wasn't like really big cheese, right? The head of NATO wasn't like big cheese, right? Like, he's like, he was a guy, like, don't get me wrong, but national politicians, like, prime ministers and presidents would still be like more powerful. But now we have a layer of global governance that is above nation states. Okay. And I was always of the assumption that that layer of global governance, or the money power, or whatever the fuck you like wanted to call it, they wanted a compliant national political class. So they were deliberately like dumbing them down and like making them more stupid, so that none of them would like ever get into power and turn around and be like, hey, maybe we should abolish usury, or something like that, right? But then the upshot of that is that once you make these people stupid past a certain point, they can't even like rule their own countries, right? Now, is that a problem? I mean, I don't know, right? I mean, you could always just like you could always just put your fist in the back of their head, right, and puppet them like a sex puppet, basically, right? Like just, it's like Klaus Schwab's words coming out of like every fucking politician's mouth in the West. But like, is that really doable? I was wondering about this, right? Like how technology changes the ability to like rule and coerce. Okay, right? So think about back in the days of the Stasi. Okay. One sort of intelligence guy, right, could only run like maybe, I don't know, possibly 5, maybe 10 agents, like, or confidential human sources at once. Okay. Because you'd have to go and meet them, right? You'd have to like arrange like pickups and drops and all this kind of like other stuff, leave them money, all this kind of like stuff, right? But now you could just technically have one guy running like 100 Telegram chats, really, if you think about it. Okay. Sending them money via like crypto. You could probably harvest most of the blackmail material on them that you needed from the web, right? Or like own their devices, or like scrape their social media accounts, or like, like whatever it is that they use to like, blackmail people now, recordings or what have you. And then if that's true, and if now one glowy could run like 100 different, sub glowies, confidential informants at once, that's like an incredible, like that shrinks the number of people that you need to control like that many glowies. And I wonder if that's what's happening with governments, right? If that's really what it is, right? Like you've basically got like this small group of people, and they're in, 10 different group chats, and every single group chat is basically a national government. Because like all governments are basically run by like WhatsApp groups now, right? You know that, yeah?
Yeah. It's hilarious.
And if that's the case, wouldn't you want the stupidest, most craven, most hollow, most blank, sort of hollow-suited individuals that you could get a hold of, right? Like, in fact, what you would really want, actually, is a person without any thoughts of his own, cravenly addicted to some kind of passion, right?
Yes.
Preferably sexual, I would think, because if it was drugs, then that might
Yes.
be a bit dicey, right? Because like,
Absolutely.
what if they've got a speech to do, and they're like smacked out of their head, or like they're like drunk like Boris Yeltsin, right? But if it was some sex thing, right, that they just couldn't control, right? Like you just, I don't know, you dangle like a, 8-year-old Indian boy in front of them, and they're just like, oh now I'm sad. uh, right. But like, wouldn't that be like the perfect politician? And if that is the case, does that explain like most of Western governance now? Or I can't figure out whether this is brilliantly autistic or completely tarded.
Oh no, this is I'm about to say it. I'm about to say the thing I say every show. C.S. Lewis wrote about this.
Really?
He did.
Oh shit, really?
Yeah, he did. He wrote about it twice. First, In That Hideous Strength. Second, there's a very, very short read out there called The Inner Ring. And he described exactly what you're talking about. And basically how there develops in circles of power an inner ring of people who don't appear to be in charge, but are in charge. And it's the people who are the face that are, and you think are in charge at first, who are definitely not in charge. And then to your point about sexual mores being used to do great evil, Chesterton wrote an essay called The Diabolist, which is one of the best things I've ever read. And all he does is he sits across from a person ready to do exactly what you're talking about for whatever. And the guy basically describes in so many words exactly what you just said. And at the end, it is heavily implied that this person is a homosexual.
Right.
So those are two Christian thinkers who were way ahead of the game on this. And what they were both basically talking about was occult power, the hidden hand, so to speak. And you see this all the time in the upper levels of cults and things where, once you reach a certain level, there are no more rules because you've already gone through all of the initiation and now you can indulge in all of the things that you were holding back, including new appetites that you may have learned on your way up.
Indeed. I mean, that's one of the worst things about secret societies with degrees is that they're basically sorting mechanisms, right? Like they're like molecular filters.
Yes.
Essentially, right? So like the only people that reach these dizzying heights are exactly the kind of people that you want, right? That you can inculcate with like various weird fetishes and probably implant them with demons and other kinds of like, weird shit. And then by the time they ascend to the lofty heights of the rose quartz, or like, whatever, the 30th plus degrees, they've got no morality. They are imbued with a number of like highly disgusting sexual fetishes. And you've got like a bajillion reams of dirt on them.
Oh, yeah. And then there's a point you reach when you go into such immorality where, he disappeared. I will wait. You're back.
I'm back.
They heard you.
Yes.
So there's a certain level you reach when you've gone so far for this that you are so disconnected from the people below you that you no longer even care for them anymore. There's a great illustration of this is in the Bourne movies. I've never read the books, but when Jason Bourne is put through, or David Webb is put through these increasingly difficult tasks, and there's a guy there the whole time just going, "Will you commit to this program? Will you commit to this program?" And he breaks when he says, "I can't." Right?
Yeah.
And then he finally does this awful thing and shoots a civilian or something like that. I don't remember what it is. But it's, will you commit to this program? And it's like, well, I'm in so deep, and all it is it's really just what's that logical fallacy when people have put too much down? It's how gamblers get into it.
Oh, the
Sunk cost.
sunk cost fallacy. Yeah.
Yeah. Once you're in real deep and you've done some awful things, it's not even just blackmail. It's, if you leave, you will not look at people the way you did when you went in.
I don't know whether that's the sunk cost fallacy per se, but I see what you're getting at. Man, those were such good movies. I think I'm gonna go back and like watch those again.
Oh,
I love the Bourne movies like so much. Who was the guy who played the main character? Who?
Oh, Matt Damon.
Matt Damon. He was really, because much like Schwarzenegger in the Terminator, because his lack of range actually really works for him in that role, because David Bourne or David Webb is supposed to be emotionless, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's not supposed to be like a highly emotive character. He's supposed to be sort of icy and reserved, right? Like, oh, I gotta go rewatch those films. Yeah, I mean, oh, dude, I
it's a brain breaker.
I just, if this is the case, right, and we are ruled by the Moos and the Freemasons and the money power, it does fucking seem like that. Fucking King Charles came out yesterday doing the King's speech, and he's like, yeah, so we're gonna have digital ID, and I'm just like, yeah, well, I mean, I knew that. Like, I'm just nothing surprises me. Oh no, like, okay, very, very few things surprise me anymore, right? Because like, and so all this shit went down, and I was just on Twitter, like, and I just kept replying to people. I'm like, yeah, 2030 is just around the corner. Like, everyone forgot about that, right? Mm-hmm. The WEF came to power in like 2019, 2020, right? Klaus Schwab is up there talking about the Great Reset and the fourth industrial revolution and how we will put a microchip inside your penis. I know not the best accent, right? And everyone's like, oh, well, I suppose they all went away. No, they didn't. They didn't go away because nothing happened to them, right? Like Fauci, nothing happened to them, right? So why would they not just keep doing what they're doing? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's when there's no consequences, people will just go and go and go. And we can sit here and we can go, this is really stupid. And they're just still going to do it. Because and this is probably why we can have such good conversations about this, frankly, is because when you understand the logic of evil, it's very predictable. When you're living in, say, a Christianized or the remnants of a Christian society, and you still think like a good person, what they do seems random, or it seems confusing, and you go, well, that's just silly. And, at first it's funny to make fun of like libtards and things like that. But when you understand that there is a very, very simple logic to this stuff, and it's not like I have it written out on a whiteboard and I can explain it, you can kind of get a sense of their flavor and what drives them. And you can figure out what they're going to try to do next. And they just never get there, man. They're trying to build the Tower of Babel.
This is the cancer of materialism, right? Like that. Once materialism takes hold of society, there's no reason not to do anything.
Yeah.
Right. Like if the Freemasons or the Glowies or the, whatever, right? They rock up and they're like, hey, we will give you $1 million and a small Indian boy. Right. Or like, whatever it is, they'll give you your heart's desire. This is the thing that I realized, right? Is that these people are capable of just giving you whatever you want. And most people's dreams are actually really small, right? Like most of these people, when they roll up on them, there'll be something like, oh, I want to be a famous author. Easy. It's like, how easy it's like, they own, like, how many publishing companies do they own? Done. Just done. Like immediately, right? Oh, I want to be a famous YouTuber. Done. You know what I mean? Right? I want like a hot Ukrainian model as a wife. Done. Right? I want $10 million. Ha! Done. Right? Like all these very, very small dreams, like from their point of view, right? From the point of view of Satan, he must just laugh at how easy it is to buy most of these people, right? Because if you are not religious, what reason is there? Like, what like deep bedrock principle is there to say no, right? And as well, right? And they never just offer you the positive, they offer you the negative as well, right? It's like, well, you could have $10 million and a hot Ukrainian wife, or we could kill you.
Exactly.
Right? Like that's how they do, right? It's the carrot and the stick. And if you don't have a religious position, there's no reason, like, oh yeah, sure, right? I mean, these people are like human traffickers and stuff, but are they really bad? Right? Like,
Mhm.
you know, you got to take a broad, general view of things. Like it's like so it's not so much of a thing now, but about like 6 months ago, the government was going around trying to buy up people's houses to shove migrants into, right? And the deal that they were offering was insane, right? It was like 20% over asking price. No, yeah, right. Like they'd rent it for like 10 years guaranteed, right? Payments guaranteed, 20% over market. All repairs, all like utilities, all paid for, right? So for 10 years, right? So basically, right, if you had a property, you could just give it to them and fuck off to Mallorca or somewhere, right? Secure in the knowledge that because it's the government, they are always going to pay. It's not like the government's going to like be like, oh yeah, no, hey, we can't make rent this month. You know what I mean? And so many people, it seems like, took them up, like, um, and I just looked at the money and I was just like, oh my God, that's a lot of money. And I was like, no, I can't. Like, I can't. That's horrible. Be like, I don't know, just selling out to like
Right.
just the worst. Like, it just be like, oh, like this is the problem with materialism, man. You've got no. I mean, I know all the Redditors love to be like, oh, just be a good person. Yeah, and what are you going to do when someone rocks up to you with a fucking claw hammer and $1 million? And it's like, well, do you want the $1 million, or are we going to get friendly with the claw hammer?
Right.
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 It's just going to be like, oh, it was, and then later on, I guess, when they're like sitting on the beach with a margarita, they'll like justify it to themselves and be like, well, if it wasn't me, it would have been somebody else. You know what I mean, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
if I didn't take the money, they would have gotten somebody else, and and I would have had claw hammer marks in my kneecaps.
Here's what they get you. They get all your neighbors to do it, and then they come to you and they say, do you really want to live around all these migrants? Here's 20%.
Yeah.
And then your whole neighborhood's gone. I've seen that happen. It happens all the time in small towns in the Midwest.
Fuck.
The entire town gets sold out, and there's one holdout, and he gets all the thrashing and all that stuff. And then when the storm is over and he gets to keep his property, now he's surrounded by distribution centers.
Fuck.
It's brutal,
It's the orbital strike.
Yeah.
Like, literally is. They just like cruise over your like fucking, like it's just a bunch of like fuckwits with a map. Just like, finger drops on the map. Boom. We're going to stick our new data center right there. What about the people? Well, we'll buy them off. What if they won't sell? Hell, they'll sell.
We'll microwave them with the sounds from the data center, and then they'll regret it.
Yeah. We're going to put the data center here, and we're going to put the migrant camp right next to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect synergy. And then we'll have a fulfillment center right next door.
And that's the curse of materialism, right?
Yeah.
Because if you lived in a neighborhood of people who all felt like that, who felt like this was a betrayal of where we live and who we are, that wouldn't be able to happen as easily. I'm sure they'd find a way. There's a whole bunch of ways to get a bunch of people to move off of a place, but because of how people are captured by their appetites and their desire for money and the abandonment of all principle and all of that stuff, it is incredibly easy to just hoover people up.
I mean, I guess it's not 100% universal. I mean, look at Julian Assange, right? I mean, I don't think Julian Assange was particularly religious, right? I think he was just an incredibly stubborn bastard.
Oh yeah.
And he was just like, nah. Like, I was consistently amazed by Julian Assange, right? He's just this one guy, right? Like, taking on the US government. US government's like, can't we just like kill this dude?
Lest we forget about John McAfee.
Oh, John McAfee. Like, what a degenerate, but also like a crazy hero, right? Like, mate, he's like John McAfee like reminds me of like a modern version of like the Virtuous Highwaymen.
Yes.
How like back in the day, you'd have like highwaymen and they'd be like, holding up like tax coaches and stuff and nicking all the money. And maybe they give some of it to the poor or whatever, but the poor would just love them because they were fucking over like the government,
Yeah. Well, actually, we covered an American. My co-host Daniel did a presentation on a guy named Black Bart. And he robbed stagecoaches, but he only robbed stagecoaches from Wells Fargo. It was great. True American hero right there. So he would do it alone. He would set up like broomsticks and fake guns in the hills and just like walk out and say, "We've got you surrounded." And they'd look out and they'd see all these guns trained on the stagecoach. And he'd be like, hand me that chest right there, Sonny. And he'd walk off into the desert and he'd say, "You better not move."
That's fucking insane. Yeah. Oh my God. Oh, dude. Oh, I bet they fucking hated that.
Oh yeah.
Oh mate, the elite hate it when you steal from them. Like they're happy to steal from you, right? Like they love to steal from you.
Well, look how freaking hard from them. Look how freaking hard they had to cuck Robin Hood. Right? Yeah. Like Robin Hood, the Disney character, a happy little fox in the woods who pretends to be a gypsy and steals from the king, like all that stuff. Every Robin Hood movie after that has been just, this guy was gay. This is here's Robin Hood Men in Tights. And then they did like 5 or 6 remakes with like Russell Crowe, but he's fat. Yeah. And they did another one recently. It looked like trash. They hate Robin Hood.
Yeah, well, you know why they hate Robin Hood.
Oh, I am aware of why they hate them, but please tell the people. Yes.
Oh, well, because he was stealing from the moose.
Exactly.
Like that. Like basically, like King John, right, who is the hated king, right? King Richard the Lionheart went off to fight in the Crusades and left England in control of, I think, his brother, King John, who was very, very tight with the moose. And King John used a tactic that had become very, very common in England, which was using usury to bankrupt people so he could steal all of their shit, right? This had become like an endemic problem and was one of the reasons why you got the expulsions and the riots and the pogroms and stuff like that, because they'd lend out money usually to nobles for relatively short periods of time, or so I have been informed, right? But the interest rates were like quite high, and then once they got into financial difficulty, they'd take their property. And then when they did that, and also I believe King John had like just incredible taxes as well, right? Like just loved to tax the crap out of the people. So Robin Hood, he robbed from the rich and he gave to the poor. Yeah, well, there's a bit more to it than that, but that's why he was beloved by the people. I believe. Like,
yeah, they even cucked him in Shrek. It's crazy. It's unreal because like Robin Hood, the story is probably the most based piece of folklore available to us.
all white folklore is based purely because you're not allowed to say any of it now.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Like look at Hansel and Gretel. Okay?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So fucking two parents like abandon their kids in the forest because they can't afford to feed them. Right. Okay. Joe, I wonder what's happening with the economy, but okay. They then wander out. There's an old woman with a conspicuously big nose surrounded by like herbs and stuff living on the outskirts in the forest. Right.
Eats
and then
children.
And then she is living in supposedly a cottage made of gingerbread, right? Lures the children in and is going to eat them. This is the other thing that you notice from these fairy tales, is that basically any kind of sexual depredation is reframed as being eaten, because you don't want to tell kids like what's actually going to probably transpire. Okay, right?
Of course.
So there, like Little Red Riding Hood, right? Like the wolf is going to eat Little Red Riding Hood. Yeah, I mean, okay. Little Red Riding Hood is really interesting. I did an episode of Empire of Lies that we really should reprise, because all of these fairy tales have now been rewritten for LGBT, and they are horrible. Oh my, like they are literally like something out of a fever dream. Like a lot of them you would
I remember that.
are literally satire. Like it's insane. Like, I've got to dig up my notes. We should do that again.
I would love to do that, because I remember that episode and just being like, this is wild. I mean, it's exactly right though. I mean, a wolf that breaks into the house, destroys your grandma, and then wears her clothes.
Yeah.
But
the interesting thing about Little Red Riding Hood is, like, in the first version, she is confronted by two paths, right? And one of the paths symbolizes sewing, right? Which is sort of like marriage and, like, prim and proper life. And the other path symbolizes, I forget the exact symbol, but symbolizes, like, loose living and like not being a dutiful daughter and wife and stuff like that. You know what I mean, right? And she picks the other one. And so there's it's a very deep sort of morality tale in there as well, right? Because from a point of view of a girl, sort of, because this is the thing, right? Like all these young women in these fairy tales are generally have, like, just hit menarche, right? Because like back in the day, right, like, functionally speaking, the age of majority for women was menarche, right? When they got their first period, right? There was none of this weird sort of like stuff we do now, right? Like, basically, like, once you hit that point, you are technically a woman, even though you are still young and retarded. So there's a lot of these, like, morality tales urging young women not to so like they hit menarche, and, like, suddenly they realize, for example, that, like, men are looking at them and stuff like that, right? And they are urged to be chaste and proper and find a husband and not go off and be loose women, essentially, right. Basically, because they'll wind up in a bad place, right? Whereas now, of course, the complete opposite apply, right? To even imply that a woman should not, that a young girl should not go out and be all that she can be and be a strong, independent woman and go to university and wind up childless at like 45 is, like, basically a war crime now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. This is why I said, I think I said something I just want to repeat, is that Christianity fit Western society like a glove, because a lot of that stuff was already baked in. And I don't know, man. Wow. It's crazy because, we see this complete inversion of Christian morality, but also of a natural morality that was sort of forged by years and years and years of, centuries of experience and wisdom and that sort of thing. And it's just like, now we just do the opposite because, the TV told me so.
Yeah, Chesterton's fence. And it's like, instead of being like, maybe someone built that fence for a reason, right? We're literally going around, like, ripping up all the fences, being like, a fascist built this fence. We don't need no goddamn fences, right? Fences are a relic of the past, right? Like, we will. I think we're going to die out.
Come on.
Now I'm sad.
Not a chance.
Can we, like, I mean, if we get through this, right, at least there is bound to be a resurgence of this, like, because I think this is what people don't get. Traditions are survivorship bias, right? Like yes. there are potentially infinite numbers of societies that tried these newfangled things and then died out.
Oh yeah, this is a genetic bottleneck.
Yeah. It's like, we're too good for tradition now. Well, so were all those other societies, that you don't know about. Why don't you know about them? Because they're all dead. Like, they didn't reproduce. They didn't, pass along. And I think that's a big part of, like, why Christianity and not just Christianity, but other world religions that have lasted for a long time, because if they do not contain within them that fundamental thing of like how to get people to have kids and like pass on, they're not going to survive. Like, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's like, you raised it, as I was raised Christian, you raised on the wisdom of the Bible. You're like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. And then you get old and you're like, I don't believe that Bible stuff anymore. And then you get older and you're like, I cannot believe how simple this stuff actually is. You have to go through the midwit circus in your 20s.
Yeah.
Where you walk around and you're like, what if we just didn't have God? That would be fine. What if we didn't have all these societal rules? Well, that would mean I could get with more women and there wouldn't be any consequence. And then you just learn the freaking hard way again and again and again.
Yeah.
And, Christianity talks frequently about God chastising a culture. And I know that sounds like a Mr. Baptist guy over here or whatever, but that's exactly what's happening.
Oh yeah. and I remember when I was like young as well, right? And I'd like read this stuff and I'd be like, gee, that sounds very unfair of God, right? Like, like why is he chastising these people? They didn't do nothing. And it's like, well, yeah, actually they did. They did do something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they fucked up their own society and couldn't continue. Like imagine like Sodom and Gomorrah, man. Right? Like imagine just those like society, like everyone's like literally just spending all their time like just graping the hell out of everybody else, and just like travelers show up and they're just like, welcome traveler, new people to grape.
Yeah.
How long could that situation like possibly survive? Like, I mean, I suppose like, I mean, you could get a sort of degenerated culture where like eventually everyone's just like walking around naked with clubs, like beating each other like they're living in sub-Saharan Africa. But that's not a fucking civilization, right? Like this is the thing that I never realized, right? And and all the Freudians and everyone like tried to undo. Civilization requires control of the passions. It requires what's that fucking term the psychologists love? It requires repression. Yes. Right? It requires like for people to control their impulses, and it also requires sort of ways to let them out on the sly, right? So this is one of the things that modernity, right? They're always like slagging previous civilizations. Oh yes, you say that you're all holy, right? But we know that on the sly people are still nicking off and like sleeping with hookers. Yes, but they had a functional society, right? Like it would just be so much better if everyone was like doing that all the time out in the open. Yeah, well, how's that working out for you? Right? Like, what? The whole world is Portland.
Because now you've hit on it again, and I'm afraid I have to say it again. Yeah, that's in that hideous strength. The guys at the top make fun of the midwits below them because there's a guy named Jules who comes around and he's like, well, you see, the problem with the sexuality in society is repression. Now, I think it's better if we just get it all out in the open. And all the guys above him go, ugh, like that. Because ultimately the goal is to repress the sexual function altogether.
Yeah.
Because that's because that's their goal, is they basically want to control the breeding of all of England.
But I mean, well, this is the thing, right? Like, I guess there are two ways to do that, right? Like you could either try and take the 1984 route, the what do they call it? The anti-sex league. Yeah, the anti-sex league, right? Where like, but then you could go the other way, right? You could go the sort of Aldous Huxley Brave New World way, right? Where everyone is like screwing all the time. And so as a result, no real love or connection develops between anyone. Right. And no one has any kids, or like, just, once, the government issues like a ticket, this is your required breeding partner or something like that. Right. But like everyone's like just drunk on free and meaningless sex. And so no one forms stable families. And so everyone is atomized, and the state is like, oh, that's great. We love it. We love atomized individuals. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, think about it. If they came at it from both fronts, you can have as much as you want as long as it's gay. And you better not get married and have children, because that's going to ruin your career there, sweetie. Like, it's both.
It's interesting. So, Anthony Burgess, the guy who wrote Clockwork Orange, wrote a book called The Wanting Seed, I think is the one I'm thinking of, right? Where it's a sort of future version of England where heterosexuality is banned, basically. And at the time that he wrote it, it was meant to be a sort of not exactly comical, but, you know, sort of like a dystopia sort of like novel. You know what I mean, right? It's meant to be like far out and stuff. But now, like, it's honestly, like, I keep thinking about, like, just how, like, all of the incentives are slanted towards homosexuality, right? Like, they really, they don't just sort of push it in a propaganda sense, but also in, like, an altering of incentives sense. You know what I mean, right?
Absolutely,
like,
yes.
you know, like, oh, you know, if you get married to a woman, she can like take all your money, right? Like, why don't you just, you know, you might get done for sexual harassment, right? Maybe you should just go and like be gay instead. We love the gays, right? Like, we'll bend over backwards for the gays, pardon the pun, right?
No rules for
like,
them. Nope.
Yeah, exactly. No rules for them. So, like, you know, there's all these rules about, like, one of the interesting things is, like, in London, there's this place, I forget the name of it, right? But it's like a 24-hour gay sauna, right? You can go there any hour of the day and night, right? And like find some like random dude to like fuck, I presume. Okay, right? I stumbled across their, you know, website one time, and I was like, what things are, because London is not generally a 24-hour city, right? So I was like, what, you know, is there anything that's open 24 hours, 7 days a week in London? And this place is one of those things, right? You would just, the very idea that there would be anything like that for heterosexuals, even though like that would technically be prostitution or something like that, right? Like, it would be like completely haram, right? But this huge complex, basically 24/7 sodomy is like, yeah, it's weird. It's weird, man.
That's the reveal. That's the reveal.
Yeah. Anyway,
I desperately wish I could play the button I have for you on my soundboard right now.
That's very homosexual.
Yeah.
It's a great feeling to be on your soundboard. Every single time you play that, I'm like, oh.
I have stolen your soul, Newsfist.
Oh, that's okay. I don't mind. That's okay, man. It's cool. It's cool. You know, just take care of it, right? A little piece of my soul. Just, you know, be nice to it.
You know what the icon is?
What?
It's just a little rainbow.
Oh my God. Right. Well, we did not get to talk about aliens or Scientology or any of that stuff. That just happened to be like another massive segue.
Well, we'll do it next time.
We'll do it next. We'll do it. We'll do it next time, bros. Shall we finish up? It's been nearly at 1 hour 40. Or do you have more topics that you wish to broach, Aaron?
I think we can finish up. Yeah, listen to my podcast, the Clown Town Chronicle.
You should. It is a lovely podcast. Comes out every Monday. I am myself a listener of said podcast. See, it's, you know, at the moment it's cool because it's underground, right? Not many people know about it, right? So it's, you know, it's like when I used to be into like underground music, you know, when I was younger, and I'd be like, oh man, this music's really good because no one knows about it, right? And you know, it's underground, but it's coming up, right? So you should get in on the ground floor, and then you can say that you listened to Clown Town Chronicle before it became famous.
Yeah.
See, right?
Buy your CTC coin now.
That's right.
So I can do a pump and dump when I become president.
Oh, yeah. We'll set you up with Avi Lieberman. He'll help you with the pump and dump, mate. Right. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. We'll be back with, I don't know, something a bit more focused next week, I guess. Thank you so much for listening. I have been Newsfist. This has been my co-host, Aaron. We have been live. Actually, fucking speaking of which, next Tuesday, Artie is going to be away. So we are going to be doing a live stream in Artie's slot. So it will be, I don't know, Clowny and Fist. something like that, right? Because he's going to be away, so we're gonna do a show in the same time slot.
Don't worry, Artie. We'll hold down the fort for you.
I
Is
did
that
ask
servile enough?
Yeah, I did ask you if you wanted to do that, right? I didn't not like springing it. Like,
No, you did tell me.
You have been press ganged into this podcast.
It's carrot. No, there's no carrot. It's all stick. He came over here. He flew over here and was like, "You will appear on this live stream."
So look out for that. We will be back next. Well, it's Wednesday now, but it'll be Thursday when it releases. Have an excellent evening, everybody, and good night.